Okay, I'm okay, I'm Bill Candick, Custer County Board of Health Chairman. This is Wednesday, May the 4th, 2022. Time is 1:35 roughly. And we're meeting in BOC or the courtroom just for efficiency, expediency. Meeting's being recorded on Zoom. Okay, and please silence your phones if you can. I haven't done so already. So let's call this meeting to order and let's pledge the allegiance. How about a new commander?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for doing that. Okay, roll call.
Board member Bill Campbell.
Started that off right. Okay, here.
Board chairman, Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Board member Kevin Day.
Present.
Board member Tom Flower.
Present.
And board member Dr. Brown.
Present.
Okay, we'll have audience introduction, and you can introduce them as the public health agency director.
Okay. And Adrian Washington.
Custer County Office of Emergency Management.
Thank you.
Richard Posadas, citizen.
Reggie
Foster, Custer County PIO.
Oh, I'm Jordan, but
Okay, all right. And go.
And Dorothy Carson. And secretary.
Thank you. Okay, any amendments to the agenda? We've got several things to not consider. You've got a report or two. Anything to add?
No, sir, I know, somebody asked me the other day if we could be a little more specific in our agenda for Board of Health. If people were actually submitting, people probably knows like Brown is submitting items to be on the agenda or not.
Okay, so
And I've looked at it, it hasn't changed in the last year or so.
it changed since we.
That's all. It'd be nice to know if we were going to talk about specific topics. Let's
Right.
say, for example, the baby pickup. I'd like to see pickup be listed.
Yeah, I do too.
So that's,
And
I couldn't argue with this person, so.
no, that's a good point. And as a matter of fact, what we had been doing in the past when we were in the heat of battle with COVID option were a lot of things on the consideration. But the report was including the day-to-day business kind of thing. So Dr. Brown, I think he did a good point. We need to,
For the public, I mean, just.
Yeah.
Let's use the avian flu, for example.
yeah, if we're gonna talk about
That was on
that.
here, and people were concerned or cared, and they didn't want to run it. Yeah.
That's a very good point.
I'd like to see it spelled out, just like we do on most things, is business, what we're going to talk about.
So Reggie, you can help because you are actually getting a lot of the details day to day on what is happening in the agency. That, I mean, you have to publish everything, but you know what items are coming up with you and somehow submit them to Dorothy to get on there and run them through that
I would
us.
say, yeah.
Through me, the chairman, and I'll make sure it gets on the agenda.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, appreciate that.
Okay, and I don't think we have any minutes. All right. And we don't have any items here with you two, Tom, anything other than what you just brought up.
Correct, yeah, I'll just see how it goes, got something else I'll mention.
Okay.
Not for me.
Okay, and I don't have anything either other than, I'm not only worried about the pickup, but the lift on the van. For example, those are kind of things.
Those are on my list.
Okay, good, so you're gonna hit them, but
Yes, but they're not
But the
on.
public needs to know we have a program with.
That's probably have been submitted before.
Yeah, we gotta get some of that back in. All right, so with that, Dorothy, you have anything to bring up? Okay. We really need this with this crowd. Public comment right now, and is there anything? Do we have anybody online? So if there's any comments you want to make that's not on the agenda that you see now, which you don't see much, bring it up. We got one out. State your name.
My name is Richard Posadas. I'm a citizen of the county. Would this be the time to talk about a concern that I have about the health? Is that okay, or does it have to be
You
comment
can just do
specific?
it now, but we're not gonna take any action on it.
Right.
We'll listen, or we can do it at the end of the meeting. You might think of some other things. So
Okay, well, I'll address it now because it doesn't have anything to do with these issues you have listed.
right.
But I wasn't planning to come here today, and I appreciate the time to talk to you. And it might not even be relevant. I think it is though. When we talk about health of the county, I think there's several types of health. There's physical health, and I believe there's mental health. I think that we did a pretty outstanding job trying to combat and deal with the mental health of people, either the physical health, like protecting them, doing what we could during that pandemic. But I think the issue of mental health needs to be addressed at the county. I think that it's fair to say that we failed miserably as a nation, as a community, as a people, when this pandemic hit us. People went out and bought toilet paper, people hate each other, people won't even talk to each other now. People in the county were taking pictures of people coming out of buildings and sending them and trying to get people in trouble. People are saying that you're trying to kill other people and you should be put in jail for that. And I was watching it, and within the first 6 weeks of the pandemic, I said to myself, I am more concerned about the response of the people than the COVID virus itself. And I think it's the collateral damage has been worse than the virus itself, from what I've seen. My daughter, okay, she was isolated. The mental health of the children was really. So I would say our county, not our leadership, but our county, all the people in the county failed miserably. So I would suggest that because what if a real pandemic happened and people started dropping like flies around this county? How are people going to treat each other in this county? The mental health of the citizens, of the people, is terrible. They went and bought toilet paper and on. You saw it. You know what I'm talking about. So I would suggest, because as the commander of the American Legion, if this was my responsibility, I'd say to my officers, put together a plan. Let's look at this. Let's address it. Let's put together a brochure. Let's put together a pamphlet that says when emergencies happen, don't lose your mind. I felt like grabbing people and saying, shh, calm down, man. Hold yourself. The sky is not falling. And if it is, this is not the way to react to it. So the mental health of the county, in my opinion, needs to be addressed as well as the physical health of the county. And if you gentlemen need help, if you want to put together a committee or a board, I'd volunteer to be on that board and put together something so that if it happens again and a real challenge comes into this community, because I don't consider that last one a real one. Okay, so say what you want, but I looked at the numbers. I watched the numbers that the state provided every day, COVID.org, Colorado, I watched the numbers they provided every day from the very beginning of people in the hospital, people with all those statistics. So what if what Jordan was running around, Chicken Little screaming, what if that was true? What if that was the case? What if everybody was dying? How are people going to react towards each other? Needs to be addressed. I think it's a huge concern. It's a bigger concern. Just on the children's level alone, what happened to them at the school. So on that note, that's all I have to say. I just wanted to bring it. I discussed it with you briefly at the gas pump a couple times in passing, and then today after today's meeting, which I came as an observer, because as the commander of the Legion, I will be at more meetings and be more aware of what's happening firsthand. And then when I heard about this meeting, I felt inspired just to share that, because I know you very well, better than you think. And I know you care, and I know you want the best. I know you won't be here if that wasn't the case. So that's all I have to say. And like I said, if I can be of assistance in any way, if that would be something you would consider doing, I didn't plan to be here today. I don't expect a conversation or any answers, but I just wanted to plant some.
Very good. I'll make a suggestion and get with Dr. Brown and Bader in here, because there are other people that have also brought up suicide worries, the kids and masks problems that were resolved. There's lots of things. And you can work together and come back with something for us to consider. We do have an emergency plan for an emergency. That's his job to come up with how we react in certain kinds of emergencies. So that's something very worthwhile, I think.
I think the county does an excellent job.
Sure. Okay.
It's the people of the county that need some help.
Okay. Thanks.
And I will be in touch. Thanks for your time.
If you would like to.
Yeah, go
I can, yeah, before you run away.
It's okay. You can say.
Before you escape.
We were turned down last week for the suicide prevention program that I applied for from the state grant. We're going to be heading up a 4-county region to provide just exactly that. Tomorrow I'll be attending, Friday, I'll be attending a meeting and opening of a mental health facility in Salina that handles this whole kind of consortium of counties. And we have discussed this briefly in the past, but there are some concerns that I have also. Obviously, it's a raging concern. And so it's a matter of trying to see what we can get together from the state funding wise to help. And we have this group of 4 counties, Lake, Chaffee, and Fremont, and us. Okay, Pueblo's too big. Okay, but we do use them anyway.
See, part of the problem there was, it's a lot of money they were asking for, so it's different funding and all that. There's no reason why you can't get together and come up with some
That's
other
right.
options here.
Exactly.
County / maybe it's too bad.
Yeah, just a little brochure, like how to act when shit hits the fan.
Thank you,
What
sir.
to do, what not to do.
Thank you.
People just need to be aware of this. I think everyone forgot.
Well, didn't forget, it's just there wasn't enough that we were being allowed to do anything in excess of COVID. Everything else was just put to the back burner. And then we were kind of commanded, so you will do this. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Richard, before you leave.
I've lost.
Maybe,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I agree with most of what you said, disagree a little bit with a couple of things you said. We don't need to dissect those necessarily, but right away, my perspective was I contracted COVID and got over it. I'm gonna be a long time getting over some personal damage that I suffered as a role of public health, as a role of county commissioner. It was ugly. No doubt. I don't think anybody would argue with that. We certainly lost the sense of decency and respect during the, I call them the dark days of COVID. agree with you 100%. The other thing is, I won't give anything, I won't say that, but there are times when I wish we could do it over, because I personally do things different. You know, I was ignorant as an elected official how to deal with COVID. I think a lot of people were.
Absolutely.
So certainly I would have probably done things differently with hindsight. You know, if that was available, which obviously it isn't, but one of the things that I disagree is that I do believe it was a pandemic. No question in my mind about that. I
It was
lost
real.
5 personal friends that died because they had COVID, not because they were in a car wreck and were diagnosed with COVID. They were perfectly healthy individuals and never harmed. So I don't discount that we went through a pandemic. How we categorize that, how we reacted to it, absolutely, I think you're right on track. Richard, know you a long time and I appreciate and respect your opinions, and I know you're a deep thinker. So I appreciate that.
I agree with you too, that there was something to be concerned about.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure, we could have a worse pandemic very easily.
Right. That's,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks for
Welcome
listening.
anytime.
Okay, speaking of COVID, there's probably nothing to report, I hope.
See you later.
I have laid out to do a lot of things, which is totally bored, but just to give a couple of general comments.
Pick up where you're looking.
And if you want to look at the paper, you
Yeah.
tell us.
Tell us where you
It's a
are.
big packet, it's a thick packet.
Yep.
And it's not the LPHA director's every update, it's key updates. Through that packet. Yeah, just the second page. I've tried to go in each of your copies and highlight, so you're not trying to scan and find things. Basically, we have a small increase with this B.1.12.1. Yeah, latest Omicron variant, and we're going to be going through these things, and I don't find them highly exciting or worrisome or anything else, but it is a little bit more transmissible than the BA2 was the last variant that we dealt with. So nothing to be terribly excited about, but it is across the United States, and we're always a little bit behind in our uptake here in the valley, but it's nothing like we don't have 50% of it. We don't have 50% of our COVID patients showing up, and we virtually have no. In the last 7 days, we've had 2 people. So we've had only 2 positives in the last 7 days, and prior to that, no positives for the 7 days previous. So we are all doing reasonably well with no hospitalizations. Hospitalizations, as you pick up more and more COVID ill, we have a slight bit of an uptake, and you can find all of that information down in your pamphlet there. Thank you. But there's nothing big there, as you can see from the graph line. So unless you are having to answer specific questions, excuse me, you're not going to have much there. I have tried to notate on the bottom right-hand corner of your packet, little swatches of yellow highlighter, if there's something there that is particularly of interest, so you don't have to.
Okay, just
Go ahead.
on Tom's got a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll ask one, how's that?
Please, thank you.
So the updates, the bullet number 2, 7-day moving average, that's statewide, correct? 866.
Yes,
Okay.
they're definitely not us. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we have, like I said, we have 2 in the last sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, then before you go into the charts, it's not on this, but the number of cases went up. So what? Are the hospitals getting back?
No, like I said,
Dying or not?
No,
So we
no,
just
no,
got You gotta be able to
nothing.
defend the fact, because they're gonna hear
There's a
reports.
slight uptick, and it is slight, and we have no cases from our
And
county.
they, from a hospital point of view, they're not overloaded. And there's
No,
plenty of-
not even
Because people
close.
get worried, they've got a new variant, it's gonna be catastrophic. The cases are going, all right.
So nothing along those lines to worry about.
But,
You can look down,
well, that's the doc.
it's. the
Vibrating the
phone's
whole
turned
table.
off, but it's vibrating, sorry. If you look at that second, excuse me, it's now the third page with a bunch of bar graphs in there. That kind of lays out for you what the variant is that's giving us the most problem right now. And that, as I said, that BA 0.2, 0.12, 0.1 is the biggest one happening at this point. Okay, and that's as of this morning. Now, I realize they're about a week and a half late because we've got to consolidate all the data.
Right.
But there's nothing here major, exciting at all. Number of cases, you go to the next page, you go to the next page for from the starting wave and so on, and they're trying to look at Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, New York City, New Jersey, and Colorado, and I've highlighted Colorado. So you notice that we are not vying for top honors here. We're way down on the bottom as far as incidents. So the BA2 wave, it looks like. Okay, you got it? Everybody? Yeah, you got it. You got it?
Colorado CDPHE.
Yes. B2 wave, and we are clear up still in the bottom kind of section here of the states in the union right now. We skipped a couple pages unless you really want that data, you'll have to pay attention to it. We are down with 7-day average currently hospitalized per 100,000. We're the 5th lowest. Okay, so that should encourage a lot of people and not have them.
You want to move to Colorado, and we're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, I don't want to tell everybody from Texas. Okay.
You know, and to Fauci's comment, we just got roasted on.
Oh, yeah.
I think we are past the pandemic phase. It doesn't mean we're ignoring COVID.
There's still a disease, but it's not.
It's still very just like the flu.
What do we call it? Post-pandemic, not endemic?
It is endemic, where it just becomes kind of a state of.
And it's not necessarily so treacherous.
No, and this variant is not treacherous. You know, we had virtually no people dying. So that should encourage a lot of people. If you go down to, there's a green picture of the United States. Yeah, just keep going, Kevin. You're almost there. There you go. If you notice, there's no yellow spot in our county. Okay, so we're still doing quite well. When you get down to the next page, 7 cumulative incidents, you notice we're in blue. That's between 35 and 100 incidents. The next page is Colorado County. You notice we're in the blue. I've highlighted Custer up there. So we're in the lower third, between 35 and 100%.
So can we talk about that?
Yes, go ahead.
So, not seeing what time frame this
Main three.
encompasses. I know it's updated March
Yeah.
3rd. So let's say we had 4 per 5,000, let's round it up. So we have 4 per 5,000, that would equal
Then we would be up into the yellow.
200 times 4 would be 80. Okay, gotcha.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you're getting close there to going into the next best thing to being there, so to speak. Okay, so I'm just rushing through these, but I don't think there's a lot of interest here, and I don't think you have to worry, so I don't want you to spend a lot of time with it. We can go down, then you see a bunch of these things down there. Keep paging through, because we're the second to last, I think, in the whole listing of the counties in the state of Colorado. Well, and they're right at the top, will be second one in from the left, in the top line. It looks like this. Yes, we do. So we're kind of one page from the left, from the last of those things. Yeah, I left it so you can get some through and get the highlights here. But if you notice 1 to 5 cases in the last 2 weeks, that's where we are. Because you see, we're just gray over there on the right hand side of that graph.
You got a test that sees that?
Pardon me?
Do they have a test that recognizes that bug? Can you be tested for this variant?
Well, what they're doing is actually,
How do they know?
they actually test, and that's what I was gonna try to tell you. It's a pain. It's actually a test that they only do on 25% of all the tests that have been done, because it takes so much time to go through to identify that particular variant. So they then magnify. So you already have numbers that are low, and now you magnify
Makes it even worse.
times 4, it makes it even more
Yeah.
explosive potentially than where it should be. Okay. Age adjusted collection. If you notice on the far end of all the charts that look kind of like this, just go through 1 or 2 pages and you should be in one of those. Yeah. All of those, everything's essentially a flat line, very close to a flat line. Now, a lot of them, they're all essentially coincidental. In other words, the guys that have been vaccinated with a booster, guys who have been just vaccinated once, and those who've been unvaccinated, all are very, very similar. If you notice down the right-hand side of that graph, are almost coincidental. So there's no big, there was for a while a big scream that we are, the guys who are not vaccinated were all gonna die. Well, we had some people get pretty sick. But if you notice on that last of the graphs that look like this with the green pointing line up there, the unvaccinated are actually doing a little bit better than the vaccinated. But that's because there's so few people down there. It's not that vaccines hurt them or unvaccinated hurt them. It's just that they're about coincidental. That's why we point to even paying attention to that. Now, do you guys have any questions? Gentlemen, have any questions specifically about COVID now? We are still testing every Friday, okay? And we've handed out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the home tests so people can check themselves.
So what's the school doing?
School that has been doing that same thing for a long time because they got the tests sooner than we did. So what we set up was to send home tests with the kids. And if anybody doesn't feel good, or if they've been around, then Casey would contact that set of parents. And they would
Think
test
they're
the
being
kids.
honest about it?
Yeah, because the tests are required. And most of the people are really pretty good. It's a lot of adults that kind of cheat and don't do so well. But most of the parents are doing that. Excuse me, sir, if I may.
I'm assuming you have lots of tests left.
Yes, sir. Boxes I ordered. Hundreds and
And,
hundreds.
The shelf life on these tests,
They were shut off in June, however, then they got from the FDA, they got a 3-month extension. So we now have for even the boxes of tests, we've used at least half of it. But for the boxes of tests that we now have longer than we've had the test up until now to use the rest of the tests. So I think we will probably do so.
because I know some of those I took to the library, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That most of them have the same expiration
Yes.
date, and that is,
But that is now expired. It is extended for another 3 months through September. Yes, sir.
That's this.
Yes,
now,
this is
right?
September
We're talking.
23. Yes. So, yeah, we are going to need to have, and the problem that I foresee right now is that this was supposed to be test to treat, which is my total desire to see. And yet they have withdrawn the sites for treatment. So we are challenged. We only have one now employed. That's a pretty good population of people. And they're just withdrawing, they're closing the places down. So our people are having to drive an hour and a half at least to get into Colorado Springs before they can get treatment. And it's a process, so it's not.
Slide it in,
Slide, no, they don't have
anything.
Well, that's, I was, my thinking on that is because it is, all of these graphs are flattening on us, so there is not the big issue. So they've been throwing a lot of dollars at it, and now they're trying to figure out how to pull some of that dollars back.
That's why we don't have all of the buses coming in east.
It's time for people to use their own insurance to take care of themselves rather than free money.
Yes, a lot of people are now, they don't have.
Do you have something there, Tom?
Just a housekeeping thing, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Would it be easier for you if you just sent these electronically? This is a lot.
I would love to. However, the meeting occurs just before we begin.
You can follow
this
up with
meeting.
it, though.
Yeah, I can follow and send it
Well,
to you.
yeah, but I was just thinking we could avoid this.
Just
Maybe easy to,
Time.
yeah, that's
I
true.
would love it, because all I'm doing is making copies for you guys every Wednesday.
And I'll be honest with you, currently, if nothing else, I would be fine with looking at just the pages you highlighted in the bottom right-hand corner.
Me too.
I will do that. I'll do
I'm
that.
just trying to make things a little simple.
Thank you.
And maybe you can send forward, like, it's nice to know how you fit with the other counties, because we can brag about it. Facetious.
Okay,
But we care about us.
Just about.
It's a good one.
sure.
The other one is, eventually, this is gonna be a shot that ought to be given when the flu season comes. Is CDC, because I get this question, are they gonna normalize this thing? Because people are afraid to get the shot because it's not been tested, et cetera. So when are they gonna normalize it and include it with all the other vaccines that are jamming into it?
If I had an answer to that question
And we talk
from
about it.
CDC, I mean, we just.
Because they need to be testing. Are they
Yes.
still testing? Are they gonna pass the criteria and we're gonna get it certified on these things?
Well, the PCR is a valid test.
It's not the test I'm talking about.
You're talking about the vaccine.
Influenza. Yeah, the vaccine.
Okay, I'm sorry. Didn't understand. Every variant that develops is going to be different and have different sensitivities to the vaccine. And right now, the B1s and B2s,
Not stabilized enough for them to do something.
no, it's just not effective, just like the flu.
Well, I
vaccine.
get that. But are they, do you think they're ever gonna include it? Like right now, we, don't the flu shots have, what's it, bovine flu, whatever it is.
They cover a lot, but each variant that's developed, as you know, is going to be different. And each year, the vaccine that we get for the flu,
I'm getting the feeling they're gonna ignore it.
they very well may, but they're only guessing each year when they develop the
Even the
vaccine
other.
for the next year.
Yeah.
So they may be 30% or 40% effective at best.
Right now, I'm not rolling it in at all.
Well, they're not. I also wanted to bring up, if that is satisfactory for you guys. I wanted to bring up other things that I've brought up before, so it is under old business. The avian flu, I don't know if you guys are watching on those things, but
Seen the movies.
60,000 chickens in Montrose. I think that.
That was my one, yeah.
And there was a guy who was working on a pre-release program in the jail,
Here,
who apparently in Montrose, putting down those chickens. He ended up, actually, and it's very rare that it converts into humans, but he ended up sick. And he wasn't really sick, but he was sick for about 5 days. So
Hey,
that's,
hey, Cliff, on
Yes,
that, they investigated that and they gave me a report yesterday on that particular. So he physically did not get sick, even though he was tested positive, because They believe that some of the dust particles, he was on a cleanup crew, got in his nose. So when they swabbed him, he tested positive, but there was no physical sign of
Maybe it
alien in
wasn't
his.
That's partially true. He was ill for 5 days and then was tested again and he is negative. So I don't know how much response was actually in his mucosal membranes of the sinuses or I just don't know. But that's what I was reporting to you. Okay, so that's one that we can kind of pass on. Just keep your chickens bundled up. Okay, the next one I found very interesting because for so long, nobody was doing anything that they could publish as far as trying to develop something that we could help people out with when they got sick. And one of the things that has been worked on very quietly, kind of in the back room, finally got published here just a few weeks ago. And the second one is that it starts off with H3N2 on the top of your pages. I found this highly interesting. I'm sorry.
Oh, there it is. Got out of order.
I found this very encouraging and very unique in that they actually planted a computer chip that they could modify while it was in the body and put in a certain type of virus with it, and then measured how it happened in the body, how the disease kind of took over.
Cells.
You broke them down. And so this is a very interesting, I won't go into all of it for you, but one of the things that they mention, and when people ask you, what can we do? One of them is that it had to take motion of that lung. So the lung had to be expanding and contracting to actually activate, like 3 times more active to be breathing. Well, stop breathing, you're in trouble anyway.
So the cure is to stop breathing.
Yeah, the cure is to make sure, one of the things that will help you tremendously in developing your immunities is to do exactly what a lot of these classes for fitness tell you, like Pilates, breathe
Use your
deeply.
diaphragm.
Yeah, use it so your lungs are expanding. That movement seems to really enhance the effectivity of your immune system. So, and they're going to be working more and more and more on some of these pathways. There's a balance you need to have an inflammatory response to help your body fight off viruses. Viruses don't do well in heat and so. Anyway, so you increase the inflammation, but if you increase it too much, then it starts to affect interference with the bacterial fighting within your particular body, your immune system.
So the lesson learned there is to stay out of your easy chair.
Yes, for sure, but at least don't just stop walking, don't stop doing the things you were doing. Okay. So we have some positive things, I think, coming as they extend this study. Okay, next exciting episode starts off with Delta 8 THC. There are so many people who are doing this CBD thing, and kids are getting into it, and I'm sorry, but it is a mess. About 9 years ago, we did a big there were 5 large studies done in public health in the state of Colorado. And all of them showed a decrease in how quickly the mental processes work when you are on any type of gummy bears or whatever. So even the smart students in the school, those that tested really well, usually it took them about a third longer time to do the same thing that they're used to doing otherwise. So if you can imagine mental processing going down by a third when you're driving a car, that to me is disaster. And it also, over a period of time, actually becomes a permanent loss when you're dealing with kids, and there are a lot of kids. So anyway, I won't go further. You can read through that article if you'd like. And you'll have some information to kind of play with. Okay. That kind of sums up what I had for new business. Can we go on to old business, or is that?
Sure, just is there anything sanitary wise?
Not, I deal with those issues all the time, but I pass them on to Jackie and nothing.
Nothing there.
No, they're still working on the grant for the wastewater evaluation. that we talked about last week. Questions?
Well,
Because we're not done.
I was afraid I was gonna forget something, so can we just put on the agenda and have a discussion about the air quality monitoring?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I was gonna ask for that.
Thought of it this morning in space.
That's another
Right.
one.
Yes,
That was old business that hasn't gone.
that is old business that has not been developed with our representative yet.
Yeah, and I put that, we did a search for funding for trying to purchase that through emergency management. Currently, there are no
Yeah.
funds.
And there are no funds in public health either.
You need to talk to her right now, but I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, and I thought about that to list that I didn't have any action on it.
That's unfinished business.
It's unfinished business. Exactly.
All right. Now the fun stuff.
Okay. We have 4 in Huerfano, and we have 5 in Pueblo, and we're talking about syphilis outbreak. So just if anybody asks you, people really need to act responsibly and not irresponsibly. And it is a danger at this time. It does not seem to be interspersed throughout the state of Colorado, but it is down here in our little region.
All right, Warfin over
And Pueblo,
there.
yeah, we had the call on that just yesterday.
Okay,
And there's 4 in each county.
No, there's 4 in one and 5 in the other.
Pueblo had
So anyway, please, people, you don't want to play with that. Okay, and if you even think that you might have been in contact in that manner with somebody who might be infected, please get checked. Family doctor can do those things for you. For the van, if that is okay to begin with. Okay. For the van, for the transportation of our wheelchair ridden people. We took it in and we got this word back saying, well, we just can't get the parts anymore. And we just can't repair it. Even if we could repair it, it's only going to last for a few years at the most. And you can't get parts there either. And I talked to Chris on it, and he said, I said, well, can you at least look around for me and see if you can find the units to make this thing work, motherboards and so on. And he said, yeah, I'll look. And they had quoted us between $78,000 and $82,000 for a used van with the wheelchair lifts. Said, well, let's look. And sure enough, we were able to locate a unit that was about $200. That would.
the computer guts that drive
Yes.
the ramp.
Yes, but we can work it mechanically, like we can go back ourselves and work that
Crank it.
and get the people up and down without putting out $80,000, for heaven's sake, for a used vehicle.
Right.
So
So-
anyway,
so what's the process?
yeah, the process here is we're right now actively searching for through the internet what we can get, no matter where it's produced or where it's being held at this time.
Computer guts and a van.
Computer guts and pieces that are worn out right now, to see if we
For
can
that.
get, just like a used car, and you use the parts.
Well, I think your analogy is great, just like a used car. I think we need to be careful about this thing, nickel and dimers. I respect those folks for donating that. I'm just probably not gonna support dumping a ton of money into this thing. Number one, we don't have a track record and data to support that we really even need it. So.
It's only been used a couple of times every year.
How we look at it critically, we have to.
And that's why I want to spend $100.
You haven't spent a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And I believe I heard that the van was picked back up and brought back.
Wow. Yeah, so we have it back in the shop with Chris.
And I think when I visited with Chris, he said the van itself,
Works.
it runs very well. And the only issue is with parts of the lift itself, so. You know, even if we had to look at something else to where you just
Trade the
made the
van.
van to help.
You can pick them up with
Without the
a,
wheelchair capability.
yeah, you can use it as a bus.
Yeah, so anyway, that's kind of where we are.
Gotta make sure human resource, health and human source, whatever.
Resources, yeah.
Gets, know that that's something else that can be used. Pick people on.
And we can rotate the front seats so people can get in without having to lift themselves so much. So it's still a useful, vehicle for us.
Okay.
But we can right now, Chris told me we can actually make that thing happen, not with a hand crank or something, but we can get right back there and
Push the
make push the button. So I have no problem doing that. Anyway, that's for that one.
Matter of fact, you'd like to have somebody. Back.
Yes, oh yeah, for safety's sake, it has to be. And there's no use being. Okay, the next one is that we now have, and I contacted, and I should be able to get back with him today. Within 24 to 48 hours, I'm just looking to get the check cut, and we will have our pickup. So. And that's not paid for, so there's not something that's a future bill for the county or anything like that, and it should provide safe transportation for our nurses and so.
So 30,000 was grant.
32,000 $240 was grant or total
Grant.
That was through the CDPHE or for health. Okay. And then 10,000 was through the ARPA here. And so that we came out with a whole $37 or something to spare.
That was a truck they'd already allocated on that lot
Yes.
at a
to
different
spare.
price because it was supposed to be used
Right.
for.
It was cut.
It was already cut.
Cut
It never
back
got.
$20,000.
Yeah, cut 20.
So that was the timing was exquisite for a change. It's not used, I'm not used to having that happen.
No commission needs to pick that.
Oh.
No, just my,
Who's got
paint-
money?
just my painting
Gas.
today, that's all. Yeah, the fuel tank filled up there.
And who's that check getting made out to the Dodge dealership?
Yes.
From the Chrysler,
Both of them will be made out to the Dodge dealership
well,
in Pueblo. The Dodge Ram, Jeep,
Chrysler, Jeep,
Chrysler, Jeep.
Ram.
Something anyway. Pueblo. Okay, so that one's almost taken care of. We're essentially good to go. You guys have questions specifically?
I did.
Go ahead.
Do you anticipate driving that pickup back and forth to home?
Nope. Don't see any reason to.
I don't either personally.
If, however, I need to go to Wetmore to pick somebody up to bring them in here. You know.
Yeah, I think
the
public health
possibility
business,
exists.
when it's needed, is appropriate. Buying the vehicle, drive back and forth to get to work.
That was not the purpose, no. And that
And
will
where
pull
you
the
park-
trailer, by the way.
Yeah.
And I also have another request in for another $5,000 or whatever to replace the tires and replace the parts on our trailer. We got the pickup to live in the house that Jack built, so it can actually pull that kind of weight. And Lee and I are beginning the process of building up the inside of the pickup to meet, instead of paying $200,000.
Pick up for the trailer.
I'm sorry, I meant trailer.
Where are you gonna park the pickup?
Pickup will probably be parked right there at the, yeah, that's all we have, you know, we don't. I would
Well,
love to have
park at the
this,
sheriff's lot.
But I'm talking about inside. Talking about inside, so it's protected from weather and from vandalism.
Okay, so back up. I'm sorry, I jumped a cog somewhere.
Okay,
What's your plan to park the pickup?
we're going to park it until we have a place that is covered and safe. We'll be parking at the public health agency.
Okay.
Unless you want.
Well, you said we don't have any place else, and I thought if we needed to, we could talk to the sheriff's department about parking in that secure
Secure lot.
lot
You could do
versus
this.
sitting right there by the highway.
Might be a good idea,
That's
given
not a bad
the
idea
crime
at all.
frequency. We've had people stealing pickups over
So we could trade out, maybe, one spot in Wetmore to shop there for a spot for the public health pickup for you, make a trade off on those parking spots.
I don't think so, but
Maybe,
maybe.
do I catch it?
No, we'll stay up here, we'll just take off the rent for the one of those
Oh,
six.
I thought you meant
No.
the new one down there, just in case.
No,
you
I don't-
Come up here.
I don't want to drive a brand new truck because I'll be the first one to be.
Road and bridge. and
there.
former
Somebody's
bridge.
gonna have to ding it.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you volunteer,
You might speak to Shannon about that,
yeah, I will,
because I don't anticipate you using it every day. So I think it'd be a huge inconvenience. to
Right.
run over there.
And keeping it off the street.
That's right. Yeah, very good. Yeah, Adrian and I have talked multiple times about some kind of a shelter so we can put our pickups, you know, if it's in hail or something like this. I don't want that thing destroyed. You know?
Yeah.
You know, the ultraviolet we have up here.
And Rotary's little Quonset thing is full, right?
Yes, it's-
And put the garage there, you can't pack a pickup in your outside.
No, it's a storage unit, it's not a garage.
Oh, not the storage unit, but on the building side, isn't that a garage there?
There's a garage door, but
There's a garage.
Oh, it's just a door.
Yeah, we
They
use it,
open that for shots.
yeah,
Okay.
exam room and for storage. Yeah, I mean, it's stocked full of all mannequins for CPR and all the rest of it. We use it. Okay, gentlemen, did you have, those are the things that I wanted to bring up to you.
Refrigerator's working now.
Refrigerator is back to working and it's only 224, so I just want you to make a note, gentlemen, it's not 324 for a
That's Reggie gets worried.
Well, it's work.
I am. A lover of
That's all I
systems.
have.
I'm good.
I'm good too. You get any complaints on anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
Just curious.
Um,
Anybody concerned, anybody crying? Reggie today, too. I know they're complaining to Reggie,
Just me.
other than just Reggie complaining.
Not that I'm aware of, Reggie.
How are things on the front line, Reggie? Okay,
We're good. We had a good discussion last week after Brian and I, so we're good.
okay.
Reggie, you noted everything's been taken down.
Yes, I talked to Mr. Cand about that and told him it was gonna happen, so I assumed
Yeah.
it had.
Everything taken down.
The
As far as
signs
the
were
road
all
signs.
up and not being changed on
And if you recall, the last time we moved that road sign, I lifted up one of the pylons.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of tipped it
Oh.
instead of lifted it and let it crawl away. And
So CDOT had
I
noted,
drew out on him.
Where the variable sign is now.
they're stored at the county
Shop.
road and bridge
That's what it
shop.
should be.
And CDOT had noted that the messages were either off, and they suggested very strongly that the signs be moved.
Well, and I had, remember, we had citizens saying, get them changed. Well, what are you guys doing? The same shot at the same time every day?
Yeah, well, that's the only
I
know
message
it
that we
wasn't for a
had,
while.
because that was the only thing we
That
were
was
doing. So there's nothing else going on.
In 2 out of the 4 weeks, we don't have a vaccination bus, and as of the 20th, that will be our last one that we promised so far.
Okay. All right, you don't have to belabor it. Anything else? All right, therefore I adjourn this meeting at 29 after 2.